She told me to either accept her solo trips or file for divorce. So while she was in Sedona posting about spiritual awakening and self-discovery, I made a choice. What happened next? Let's just say she came home smiling until she saw what was waiting on the dining table. Some ultimatums backfire in ways you never see coming. My name is Russell Townsend. I'm 46 years old, been working as a regional sales director for a pharmaceutical company for the past 12 years. Good job, steady income, the kind of career my father would have called respectable. I met Diana at an industry mixer 11 years ago. She was gorgeous, confident, working her way up in cosmetics marketing. She had a son from a previous relationship, Brandon, who was 4 at the time. Never married to the father, she said. Just a complicated situation that didn't work out. I should have asked more questions. Brandon's 15 now, and I've been the only father figure he's known. We throw a football on weekends. I helped him build his first computer. The kid calls me Russ instead of Dad, but there's respect there. At least I thought there was. Things with Diana started shifting about 2 years ago. Subtle at first. She'd mention needing space to breathe, or talk about how marriage shouldn't mean losing yourself. Self-help book language that sounded progressive, but felt like distance dressed up as enlightenment. Then came the solo trips. Girls' weekends that stretched into 5-day excursions. Wellness retreats where phones were supposedly forbidden. Yet her Instagram stayed surprisingly active. Last Thursday, she dropped the bomb over breakfast. Didn't even look up from her yogurt parfait. I'm taking a week in Sedona, Diana announced, stirring her spoon in slow circles. Solo. I need to reset. I lower my coffee mug. Sedona? That's sudden. Not really. I've been talking about needing time away for months, Russell. You just haven't been listening. Brandon sat at the counter scrolling through his phone, pretending not to hear us. He got good at that. I listen. I replied, keeping my voice even. I'm just surprised you're leaving this week. We've got that dinner with the Richardsons on Saturday. She finally looked at me, and there was something cold behind her eyes. Something I hadn't seen before, or maybe I had and just refused to name it. Cancel it, she said simply. Or go without me. Honestly, Russell, if you can't handle me taking a week for myself, maybe we need to have a bigger conversation. The air in the kitchen changed. Brandon's scrolling slowed. Even he sensed it. What kind of conversation? I asked. Diana stood, dumped the rest of her parfait in the sink, and turned to face me with her arms crossed. The morning light caught the new highlights in her hair, the one she'd gotten done at some upscale salon downtown. $200 for streaks that looked nearly identical to her natural color. The kind where you either support me living my life, she said, voice steady and rehearsed like she practiced this, or we talk about filing papers. Your choice, Russell. Put up with it or divorce me. She didn't wait for an answer. Just grabbed her purse, kissed the air somewhere near Brandon's head, and walked out the door. I heard her car start, the engine purring away down our quiet suburban street. Brandon finally looked up from his phone. His expression was carefully neutral, but I caught something there. Pity maybe, or recognition that things were breaking apart. You okay? He asked. I nodded slowly, even though I wasn't sure. Yeah, you. He shrugged, turned back to his screen. I'm always okay. But he wasn't. None of us were. And as I sat there in the kitchen with my cold coffee and the echo of Diana's ultimatum hanging in the air, something inside me shifted. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity, cold and sharp as a winter morning. She'd given me a choice. And for the first time in years, I was ready to make one she wouldn't expect. The house felt different after Diana left. Not emptier, exactly. Clearer. Like someone had wiped fog off a window I'd been staring through for years. I sat in my home office that afternoon, door closed, and pulled up our joint bank account on my laptop. Numbers don't lie, and I've been ignoring them long enough. 3 separate transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. $1,200 here, $800 there, a big one for $3,000 2 months ago. All labeled personal expenses in her meticulous spreadsheet. Diana was organized. I'd give her that. She tracked every dollar like a CFO. But these transactions, they didn't match any credit card statement I'd seen. I opened a new browser tab and searched for the best divorce attorneys in the state. The top result was a firm downtown, Garrett & Associates. One name stood out. Helen Garrett, specializing in high-asset divorces and complex financial separations. Her photo showed a woman in her late 40s, steel gray hair, expression that said she'd heard every excuse and believed none of them. I called before I could second-guess myself. Garrett & Associates. How may I direct your call? The receptionist's voice was professional, warm. I need to schedule a consultation with Helen Garrett, I said. It's regarding a divorce. Of course. May I have your name? Russell Townsend. There was typing on the other end. We have an opening tomorrow at 10 a.m. Would that work for you? Tomorrow. Fast. Real. Yes, that works. Perfect. We'll send you a confirmation email with intake forms. Please bring any relevant financial documents, property records, and a list of shared assets. I thanked her and hung up, staring at the phone in my hand like it belonged to someone else. Someone decisive. Someone who didn't spend a decade making excuses. Brandon knocked on the doorframe. He'd changed into his lacrosse practice gear, stick in hand. "Hey," he said, leaning against the doorway. "You good?" "Yeah, just handling some work stuff." He nodded slowly, not buying it. "Kids always know. She does this, you know," Brandon said quietly. "The trips. The attitude. It's not new." I looked at him, really looked. He'd grown tall this year, almost my height now. Somewhere along the way, the kid I'd helped raise had become someone who saw more than I gave him credit for. "What do you mean?" Brandon shifted his weight, uncomfortable. "Before you. When I was little, she'd leave for days, come back different. My grandmother used to watch me. Mom would say she needed space, needed to figure things out. Same script, different year." My throat tightened. "Why didn't you tell me?" He shrugged. "Would it have changed anything? You love her. Loved her. Whatever. Past tense." From a 15-year-old who'd watched his mother cycle through this pattern his whole life. "I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow," I said. No point hiding it now. Brandon's expression didn't change. "Good. You deserve better than this, Russ." "We both do." He left for practice. I sat there processing what he'd said. We both do. This kid who I'd raised, who wasn't even mine biologically, was standing in my corner. Meanwhile, the woman I'd married was off finding herself in Sedona while our marriage collapsed. I opened my email and started downloading bank statements, mortgage documents, insurance policies. Every file, every record. If Diana wanted to play hardball, she'd find out I'd been a regional sales director for over a decade. I knew how to prepare for negotiations. My phone buzzed. A text from Diana. Made it to the resort. "It's gorgeous. Don't wait up." I stared at those words. Don't wait up. Like she was out at dinner with friends, not potentially ending our marriage. I didn't respond. Just added the screenshot to a new folder on my desktop labeled documentation. Tomorrow, I'd meet Helen Garrett. Tonight, I'd start building my exit strategy. Helen Garrett's office sat on the 14th floor of a glass building downtown, the kind of place where you could see the whole city spread out below, like a game board. Her receptionist led me through a hallway lined with framed degrees and certificates, all bearing Helen's name. This woman had credentials like armor. Helen stood when I entered, extending a firm handshake. She was tall, maybe 5'10", with gray hair cut sharp at her shoulders and eyes that assessed me in 3 seconds flat. "Russell Townsend," she said, gesturing to a leather chair across from her desk. "Have a seat. Coffee?" "No, thank you." She sat down, opened a leather portfolio, and clicked a pen. "All business." "I like that." "So," Helen began, "tell me why you're here." I laid it out methodically. Diana's ultimatum, the solo trips, the suspicious bank transfers, Brandon's revelation about her pattern of behavior. I didn't editorialize, didn't add emotion. Just facts, the way I present a sales report to the board. Helen took notes, nodding occasionally. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "First question," Helen said. "Do you want to save this marriage?" "No." The word came out faster than I expected. No hesitation, no doubt. "Good," she replied. "That makes my job easier." Second question. "What's your goal here? Quick settlement or strategic positioning?" "I want what's fair," I said. "But I also want to make sure she doesn't walk away with anything she's hidden or stolen." Helen's eyebrow raised slightly. "Stolen is a strong word. Can you prove it?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots. The transfers, the mystery accounts, the inconsistencies. She studied each one, her expression unchanging, but her pen moving faster. "This is good," Helen said. "Very good. You've given me a starting point. Now let's talk about assets. The house. Joint ownership. We bought it 7 years ago. It's worth about $400,000 now. Mortgage down to $210. Retirement accounts. Mine is solid. Pharma sales pays well. I got about $300,000 in my 401k. Hers is maybe $60,000, but she's been contributing less the past 2 years. Helen made a note. Any properties besides the primary residence. My father left me a cabin in the Adirondacks. Inherited before the marriage. It's mine alone, titled in my name only. Good. That's protected. What about the son, Brandon? I hesitated. He's not mine biologically. Diana had him before we met. She told me his father wasn't in the picture, but I've never seen any legal documentation. Helen's pen stopped. "You've been raising him for how long?" 11 years. Since he was 4. And you want to maintain a relationship with him? "Yes," I said without pause. "He's my kid in every way that matters." Helen nodded slowly. "That complicates things, but it's not impossible. We'll need to establish your role clearly. Has she ever discussed legal adoption? She always said it wasn't necessary, that we were a family regardless of paperwork. Translation. She wanted to keep her options open, Helen said flatly. Russell, I'm going to be direct with you. Your wife sounds like someone who's been planning an exit for a while. These transfers, the solo trips, the lack of legal clarity around Brandon, it all suggests a long-term strategy. The good news is, you're not behind. You're just catching up. What's the bad news? Helen smiled, but it wasn't warm. The bad news is she's probably been documenting you too. Recording conversations, saving texts, building a narrative. If she works in marketing, she knows how to spin a story. We need to be smarter and faster. I felt my jaw tighten. So what's the first move? We file, Helen said simply. Tomorrow, before she gets back from Sedona. We list everything. The house, the accounts, the discrepancies. We request full financial discovery, which means she'll have to produce every record, every transfer, every receipt. And we make it clear this isn't a negotiation. It's a dissolution. Won't that make her angry? Helen's smile widened. Russell, she gave you an ultimatum expecting you to fold. The goal isn't to make her angry. The goal is to make her understand she miscalculated. Badly. I left Helen's office an hour later with a retainer agreement signed and a court date pending. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Diana. Sedona is amazing. You'd hate it here. Too spiritual for you. I read it twice, then deleted it. She was right about one thing. I would hate it there. But not because it was spiritual. Because it was fake, just like the woman who sent the message. 2 days after meeting Helen, I received an encrypted email with an attachment labeled Financial Analysis, Townsend. My stomach knotted as I opened it. Helen had hired a forensic accountant, someone who specialized in tracking hidden assets and financial irregularities. The report was 37 pages long. I poured a drink and settled into my office chair, door locked, and started reading. Page 3 hit like a freight train. Diana had a secondary bank account I'd never known about, opened 4 years ago at a credit union across town. The balance showed deposits totaling nearly $47,000. The source? Monthly transfers from our joint account. Usually small amounts, $300 here, $500 there, labeled as household expenses or personal care. She'd been skimming for years. Page 8 was worse. Credit cards in my name that I'd never opened. 2 of them, with combined balances of $23,000. The charges were mainly high-end retailers, spa services, and restaurants I'd never been to. Someone had forged my signature on the applications. Page 12 made my hand shake. Insurance policy updates. Our life insurance, which originally listed each other as beneficiaries, had been changed 6 months ago. Diana had removed me and listed someone named Craig Mitchell as the primary beneficiary. $500,000, going to a man I'd never heard of. I had to read that section 3 times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. My phone rang. Helen Garrett. You've seen the report, she said. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I've seen it. Good. Then you understand what we're dealing with. This isn't just marital discord, Russell. This is fraud. Identity theft. Possibly worse. Who's Craig Mitchell? I asked, my voice tight. We're still digging, but preliminary research suggests he's a former colleague of Diana's. Works in pharmaceutical distribution. They've been connected on LinkedIn for 3 years. There are photos of them together at industry events. My brain processed this slowly, like wading through mud. She changed my life insurance policy to name her coworker. Ex-coworker, technically. He left the company 8 months ago. Around the same time your wife started taking more frequent solo trips. The implication hung heavy between us. What do I do? I asked. Nothing yet. We're filing a police report about the credit card fraud. That's criminal, not civil. The insurance change is grounds for immediate legal action, but we'll roll that into the divorce petition. I'm also recommending we freeze all joint accounts effective immediately. Can we do that? We can file an emergency motion. Given the evidence of financial misconduct, a judge will likely approve it within 48 hours. She won't be able to access your money while the divorce is pending. She's coming back from Sedona in 3 days. Helen's voice hardened. Good. Let her come home to frozen accounts and divorce papers. Send a message. I hung up and stared at the report again. 47,000 stolen. 23,000 in fraudulent debt. A life insurance policy meant to benefit her lover if something happened to me. Brandon knocked on the door. I quickly minimized the screen. Yeah. He opened the door, holding his phone. Mom just posted on Instagram. Thought you might want to see. He handed me the phone. Diana's latest post showed her on a red rock formation at sunset, arms spread wide, caption reading, finally free to breathe. Sometimes you have to leave to remember who you are. The comments were full of heart emojis and supportive messages. You deserve this. Self-care queen. So proud of you. None of them knew the truth. None of them saw the woman who'd been systematically dismantling her marriage while posing for inspirational photos. "You okay?" Brandon asked quietly. I handed him back the phone. "I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." "You sure? You look kinda pale." I stood up, clapped him on the shoulder. "I'm good, buddy. Just working through some details. How about we order pizza tonight? Extra pepperoni." He grinned. "Yeah, sounds good." After he left, I reopened the report and kept reading. Every page, every detail, every piece of evidence that Diana had underestimated me. She thought I'd be passive, compliant, too nice to fight back. She was wrong. Diana's car pulled into the driveway at 6:30 on a Thursday evening, exactly 1 week after she'd left. I heard the engine shut off, then the familiar rhythm of her heels clicking up the walkway. She didn't knock, just used her key and swept through the front door like she was returning from a routine grocery run. "I'm back," she called out, voice bright and energized. You would not believe the energy in Sedona. I feel completely renewed. I was sitting at the dining room table, same spot where she delivered her ultimatum. The folder sat in front of me, manila and unremarkable, containing papers that would change everything. Diana walked into the dining room, wheeling her suitcase behind her. She got more sun, her skin bronzed and glowing. Her smile was wide, confident, the expression of someone who believed she'd won. "Miss me?" she asked, dropping her designer bag on the counter. "Not particularly," I replied calmly. Her smile faltered for just a second before she recovered. "Well, that's honest. Very healthy, Russell. See? Space is good for clarity." She moved to the refrigerator, pulled out a bottle of sparkling water, took a long sip. "All performance, all theater." "So," Diana continued, turned to face me, "did you have time to think about things while I was gone? About what I said before I left?" "I did. And," I slid the folder across the table toward her. "Your divorce papers are waiting. They just need your signature." The sparkling water bottle stopped halfway to her lips. Her expression froze, eyes darting from the folder to my face and back again, searching for the punchline that wasn't coming. "Excuse me. You gave me a choice," I said, voice steady. "Put up with it or divorce you." I chose divorce. She set the bottle down slowly, like she was moving underwater. "You're joking." "Open the folder." Diana's hand trembled slightly as she reached for it. She flipped it open, her eyes scanning the first page. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Her name, my name, the date, all official and stamped. "Russell, this is insane," she said, her voice climbing. "You can't just—" "I didn't mean, this is a complete overreaction." "Is it?" I leaned back in my chair. "You literally told me to file papers if I had a problem. So I filed. I was frustrated. You know how I get. I didn't actually mean divorce." "Then you shouldn't have said it." She flipped through the pages, her confidence crumbling with each one. Asset division. Financial discovery requests. The cabin in the Adirondacks listed as separate property. Her face went pale when she reached the section detailing suspicious financial transactions. "What is this?" Diana demanded, holding up the page. "You had someone investigating me? You made it necessary." "This is a violation of privacy, Russell. You can't just—" "Actually, I can," I interrupted. "Those are joint accounts. I have every legal right to review them. Turns out, there's a lot to review." Diana's jaw clenched. She slammed the folder shut. "You don't want to do this. Think about Brandon. Think about what this will do to him." "I have thought about Brandon. He'll be fine. He's stronger than you give him credit for. He needs stability. He needs both of us. He needs honesty," I said. "Something he's not getting from you." Diana's eyes narrowed. The mask was slipping now, the spiritual enlightenment act fading. "You're really going to throw away 11 years over one trip?" "This isn't about one trip. This is about a pattern. About bank accounts I didn't know existed. About credit cards open in my name. About a life insurance policy that names Craig Mitchell as the beneficiary." The color drained from her face completely. "Yeah," I continued, "I know about Craig. I know about a lot of things now." Diana opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. No words came out. For the first time since I'd known her, she had no script, no spin, no comeback. "I'm staying in the guest house," I said, standing up. "You can stay here tonight, but I suggest you find other arrangements soon. Oh, and you'll notice the joint accounts are frozen. Court order. You'll need to use your personal funds until this is settled." "You froze my accounts." "Our accounts." "And yes." Diana's face twisted with rage. "You bastard. You self-righteous, controlling bastard. Sign the papers, Diana. Make this easy on both of us." I walked out of the dining room, leaving her standing there with the folder and her shattered expectations. Through the window, I could see Brandon in the backyard, throwing a tennis ball for our neighbor's dog. He glanced toward the house once, then went back to playing, like he already knew how this was going to end. Diana didn't follow me. She just stood there, alone in the kitchen, finally understanding that her ultimatum had backfired spectacularly. Diana didn't sign the papers that night. Instead, she locked herself in the master bedroom and made phone calls. I could hear her voice through the walls, rising and falling, frantic and defensive. By morning, her car was gone, and so was she. 2 days later, Helen called. She's retained counsel, Helen said. Aggressive firm. They're already requesting delays and filing countermotion. Expect it. Absolutely. She's gonna fight. But here's the interesting part. Her attorney requested a meeting. They want to negotiate before this goes to court. Why? Because they've seen our evidence, and they know it's bad. The forensic accountant's report, the insurance change, the credit fraud. It paints a very specific picture. One that doesn't play well in front of a judge. I sat in my office, processing this. So what do they want? To settle quietly. Probably offer you a deal where she admits to nothing. You both walk away with a clean split, and nobody files criminal charges. And if I refuse, then we go to court, and everything becomes public record. Her employer will find out. Her friends will find out. Craig Mitchell will find out we know about him. It gets messy. Good, I said. Let it get messy. Helen paused. You sure about that? Messy means expensive, time-consuming, emotionally draining. I'm sure. She doesn't get to steal from me, commit fraud, and then walk away with a handshake agreement. Actions have consequences. All right, Helen said, and I could hear the approval in her voice. Then we go to war. That afternoon, Brandon came home from school and found me in the kitchen making dinner. He dropped his backpack by the door and grabbed his soda from the fridge. Mom called me today, he said casually. During lunch. I looked up from the cutting board. Yeah? What did she say? That you're trying to ruin her life. That you're being unfair and cruel. He popped open the soda, took a sip. She cried a lot. And what do you think? Brandon leaned against the counter, studying me. I think she's finally dealing with consequences for the first time in forever. And she doesn't know how to handle it. The maturity in his voice caught me off guard. That's pretty perceptive. I've been watching her my whole life, Russ. She's good at playing victim when things don't go her way. But you didn't do anything wrong. She did. She's still your mother. Yeah, Brandon said quietly. But you're the one who showed up. Every game, every parent-teacher conference, every time I needed someone. That counts for something. My throat tightened. Thanks, buddy. So what happens now? Now we wait. Her lawyers will try to negotiate. We'll refuse. And eventually a judge will sort it out. And me? He asked. Where do I end up? The question hung heavy in the air. Legally, Diana had full custody. I had no claim to him. No rights. Just 11 years of showing up and hoping that mattered. That's complicated, I admitted. But whatever happens, I'm not disappearing on you. Even if I can't be here physically, I'm still a phone call away. Always. Brandon nodded slowly, then pulled out his phone. Mom's been posting again. You want to see? Not particularly. Probably smart. He scrolled anyway, then showed me the screen. Diana's latest post was a photo of her at some coffee shop. Looking contemplative, caption reading. Sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who hurt you deepest. The comments were predictably supportive. Stay strong. You deserve better. His loss. She's rewriting history, Brandon observed. Making herself the victim. Let her, I said. The court cares about facts, not Instagram captions. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're making a mistake. Call me. I showed it to Brandon. Know this number. He looked at it, frowned. That's Craig's. Mom's friend from work. Craig Mitchell. The man whose name was on my life insurance policy. I didn't respond to the text. Just screenshot it and forwarded it to Helen with a note. Evidence of contact from third party. Within an hour, Helen called back. That text is gold. It establishes that Craig Mitchell is inserting himself into your marital dissolution. We can use this to demonstrate ongoing, inappropriate relationship. How? Because if he's texting you about your divorce, he's clearly involved enough to have detailed knowledge of the situation. That supports our narrative that their relationship preceded your separation. Do we respond? Absolutely not. Let him keep reaching out. Every message is another piece of evidence. That night, I lay in the guest house bed, staring at the ceiling. The main house sat dark across the yard, Diana presumably inside, plotting her next move. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Craig's number. She's falling apart because of you. Man up and do the right thing. I smiled in the darkness, screenshot the message, and sent it to Helen. Man up, he said. As if the right thing was letting his girlfriend steal from me and commit fraud. Tomorrow, I'd do exactly what he suggested. I'd man up. Just not the way he expected. The subpoena arrived on a Wednesday morning, delivered by a process server who looked bored and mechanical. Diana signed for it at the front door, her face going pale as she read the heading. I watched from the guest house window as she stormed inside, clutching the papers like they burned her. My phone rang 5 minutes later. Helen. She's been served, Helen said. Full financial discovery. She has 30 days to produce every bank statement, credit card record, and tax document for the past 5 years. What happens if she refuses? Then the judge holds her in contempt, and we can request penalties. But she won't refuse. Her attorney knows better. That afternoon, Brandon came home from school and found me organizing files in the guest house. He knocked on the door frame, holding his phone. You need to see this, he said quietly. I took the phone. It was a text thread between Brandon and Diana. Her messages were frantic, desperate. Tell Russell I made mistakes, but we can fix this. Brandon, you need to talk sense into him. He's being manipulated by lawyers who just want money. I'm your mother. Doesn't that mean anything? Brandon's response was simple. He's not the one who lied. I handed the phone back. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did, Brandon said. She keeps acting like you're the villain. Someone needs to tell her the truth. 2 days later, the rail bomb dropped. Helen called, her voice tight with something between anger and vindication. The forensic accountant found something, she said. Something big. What? Your wife has an OnlyFans account. She's been creating content for the past 18 months. Explicit content. The account has over 2,000 subscribers at $15 a month. The words hit like a physical blow. I sat down heavily. You're sure? Completely. We traced payments from the platform to one of her hidden accounts. She's made approximately $43,000 from it. My mind reeled. 43,000. That's not the worst part, Helen continued. Some of the content was filmed in your house, in your bedroom, while you were at work. Silence stretched between us. I couldn't find words. Russell, this changes everything. This isn't just hidden assets. This is her monetizing intimate content without your knowledge or consent. And some of the men appearing in the content can be identified. Craig Mitchell, among others. We're still analyzing, but yes, he appears in multiple videos. This gives us leverage for fraud, invasion of privacy, and potentially more. What do we do with this? Helen's voice hardened. We use it. Her attorney wanted to negotiate. Now we have something that makes their position indefensible. She either settles on our terms, or this becomes part of the public court record. That evening, I sat in the guest house, staring at nothing. Diana had been selling content of herself, of our home, of her affair, while I went to work every day thinking we had a normal marriage. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was commercial. Brandon knocked softly. You okay? You look terrible. Just processing some information. About Mom. I hesitated, then nodded. Yeah. Is it bad? It's complicated. He sat down across from me. Russ, whatever it is, you didn't deserve it. You know that, right? I'm starting to. Good, Brandon said firmly. Because she's the one who messed up. Not you. Never you. After he left, I called Helen back. How do we proceed? We schedule a meeting with her attorney. We present the evidence. We make it clear that if this goes to trial, everything becomes public. Her employer will find out. Her family will find out. Craig Mitchell's wife will find out. He's married. Very. With 3 kids. This destroys more than just your marriage if it goes public. I thought about that. The collateral damage. Then I thought about the $43,000, the videos, the lies. Schedule the meeting, I said. Let's finish this. The mediation conference room was sterile and cold, all glass walls and corporate neutrality. Diana sat across from me with her attorney, a sharp-dressed woman named Patricia who looked like she charged by the minute. Helen sat beside me, a folder thick with evidence between us. Patricia started with pleasantries. We're here to find a reasonable resolution that serves both parties. Helen cut her off. Let's save time. Your client committed identity theft, financial fraud, and has been operating an explicit content platform using marital assets and property. We have documentation for all of it. Patricia's expression flickered. Diana's face went white. That's a serious accusation, Patricia said carefully. Do you have proof? Helen slid a thin folder across the table. Bank records tracing payments from the platform. Screenshots of the account. Video stills, redacted for this meeting, but available if needed. We also have evidence that one of the individuals appearing in this content is Craig Mitchell, who is married with children. Diana's hand started shaking. You can't use that. That's private. It stops being private when you monetize it, Helen replied coldly. And when you film it in a shared marital home without your spouse's knowledge or consent. Patricia opened the folder, scanned the contents, and her professional composure slipped. She looked at Diana with barely concealed frustration. Is this accurate? Patricia asked her client. Diana's voice was small. I needed money. Russell controls everything. I don't control anything, I said, speaking for the first time. You had full access to our accounts. You just wanted more. You don't understand the pressure. No, I interrupted. I understand perfectly. You built a secret life, funded it by stealing from me, and now you're caught. Patricia closed the folder. We need a moment with our client. Helen nodded. Take your time. Diana and Patricia stepped into the hallway. Through the glass, I could see Diana gesturing frantically, her attorney's face growing more severe. The conversation lasted 10 minutes. When they returned, Patricia's tone had changed completely. We're prepared to discuss settlement terms, she said. Good, Helen replied. Here's what we want. My client keeps the house, the cabin, and his retirement accounts. Your client keeps her personal accounts, including the hidden ones, and takes responsibility for the fraudulent credit cards. No alimony, clean split, and she signs a non-disclosure agreement preventing her from discussing the marriage publicly. That's everything, Patricia protested. She'll have nothing. She'll have $43,000 from her content platform, plus whatever she's hidden in offshore accounts. That's more than nothing. Diana's voice broke. Russell, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we can fix it. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd married 11 years ago was gone, if she'd ever existed at all. In her place was someone I didn't recognize. No, I said quietly. We can't fix this. Sign the agreement, Diana. It's better than the alternative. What alternative? Helen answered. The alternative is we go to trial. Everything becomes public record, and Craig Mitchell's wife receives copies of everything. Your employer receives copies. Your family receives copies. That's the alternative. Diana's face crumpled. She looked at Patricia, who gave a small, grim nod. Fine, Diana whispered. I'll sign. The papers were drawn up within an hour. Diana's signature was shaky, defeated. When it was done, she stood without looking at me and walked out with Patricia. Helen packed up her briefcase. That was faster than expected. She knew she was cornered. You did good, Russell. Not many people have a spine to see this through. I sat there after Helen left, staring at the signed documents. It was over. The marriage, the lies, all of it. Done. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. How'd it go? It's finished, I typed back. Good. Pizza tonight. I smiled despite everything. Yeah, extra pepperoni. Outside the conference room, Diana stood by her car, crying into her phone. I didn't stop to ask who she was calling. It didn't matter anymore. I drove home, where Brandon was waiting, and, for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The divorce was finalized on a cold morning in November, exactly 4 months after Diana had left for Sedona. Judge Anderson reviewed the settlement agreement, asked if both parties understood the terms, and signed the decree without ceremony. 20 minutes, and 11 years of marriage dissolved into legal paperwork. Diana didn't attend. Her attorney appeared via video conference, confirming her client's agreement to all terms. I sat beside Helen in the courtroom, wearing the same suit I'd worn to our wedding, feeling nothing but relief. That's it, Helen said afterward, shaking my hand in the courthouse hallway. You're officially divorced. The house transfers to your name within 30 days. All accounts are separated, and she's legally bound by the non-disclosure agreement. What about Brandon? That's more complex. She retains legal custody, but he's 15. If he chooses to live with you and she doesn't contest it, there's precedent for informal arrangements. Keep documentation of everything. I drove home and found Brandon in the driveway, shooting baskets. He saw my car and jogged over. So, he asked. It's done. Officially over. Brandon nodded slowly. Good. You look lighter already. I feel lighter. Mom called me last night, Brandon said, tossing the basketball from hand to hand. She's moving to Phoenix. Some job opportunity with a marketing startup. When? Next month. She asked if I want to go with her. My chest tightened. What did you say? I said no. Brandon replied without hesitation. I'm staying here. With you if that's okay. Brandon, you know I can't legally. I know. But I'm 15, almost 16. Courts listen to kids my age. And I choose here. I choose you. I pulled him into a hug. This kid who wasn't mine by blood, but was mine in every way that mattered. Yeah, that's more than okay. 2 weeks later, Craig Mitchell's wife filed for divorce. The court documents became public record, and within days, his involvement in Diana's content business spread through their professional network. He was quietly asked to resign from his position at the pharmaceutical distribution company. Diana's employer, a mid-sized cosmetics firm, terminated her employment after the OnlyFans account was discovered. Corporate policy, they said, incompatible with brand values. Her Instagram, once full of inspirational quotes and vacation photos, went silent, then deleted entirely. I didn't celebrate her downfall. I I just watched it happen with a detached awareness that actions have consequences. Helen called with an update. The credit card companies are pursuing criminal charges against your ex-wife for the identity theft. She'll likely face probation and restitution requirements. How much restitution? Around $30,000, plus legal fees. She'll be paying it off for years. Brandon and I settled into a new routine. Dinners together, homework at the kitchen table, weekend trips to the Adirondack cabin where we fished and didn't talk about Diana unless he brought her up first. One Saturday morning, while we were cleaning out the garage, Brandon found an old photo album. Wedding pictures, vacation shots, family portraits that seemed to document a life that never really existed. "What do you want to do with these?" he asked. I looked at the images. Diana smiling, young and beautiful. Me beside her looking hopeful and naive. "Keep them if you want them," I said. "Otherwise, they can go." Brandon flipped through a few pages, then closed the album. "I'm good. I'd rather remember the real stuff. Like you teaching me to drive, or fixing my computer, or just being there." We threw the album in the donation pile and kept working. That night, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. The message was short. "I'm sorry. For everything. Diana." I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late, when the damage is already permanent and forgiveness would change nothing. Brandon poked his head into my office. "You good?" "Yeah," I said, setting the phone down. "I'm good." And I was. 8 months after the divorce finalized, I sold the house. Too many ghosts. Too many memories embedded in the walls. Brandon and I moved into a smaller place closer to his high school, a 3-bedroom ranch with a big backyard and no history. "This feels better," Brandon said the first night, standing in his new room with boxes stacked around him. "Like we're starting fresh." That's the idea. My company offered me a promotion, regional VP of sales, covering the entire Northeast territory. More responsibility, better pay, and most importantly, validation that my professional life hadn't been affected by the personal chaos. Brandon thrived, made varsity lacrosse, brought his grades up, started talking about college applications. Some weekends Diana would call, and they'd talk for a few minutes, stilted and awkward, before he'd make an excuse and hang up. "She wants to visit for Thanksgiving," Brandon told me one evening while we were making dinner. "Said she's doing better, got a new job in Phoenix, wants to reconnect. What do you think?" He shrugged, chopping vegetables with the precision I taught him. "Maybe. I don't know. It's weird. You don't know her anything," I said. "But if you want to see her, that's her choice. I won't be mad." "I know." He paused. "Did you ever think you'd be better off without her?" The question caught me off guard. I didn't let myself think about it. But yeah, I'm better off. We both are. On a Saturday morning in early fall, I took Brandon to tour colleges in Vermont. We drove up through the mountains, the leaves turning brilliant orange and gold, talking about his future and what he wanted to study. "Engineering, maybe," Brandon said. "Or business. Something practical. You've got time to figure it out." We stopped at a diner for lunch, one of those classic places with checkered floors and waitresses who called you hon. While we ate, Brandon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "Mom's getting remarried," he said, showing me the text. "To some guy she met in Phoenix. They've been dating 4 months. I read the message. Diana had included a photo. Her and a man I didn't recognize, both smiling at the camera, her hand displaying a ring. "How do you feel about that?" I asked. Brandon set his phone down. "I don't feel anything." "Is that bad?" "No, it's honest." He picked up his burger. "You ever think about dating again?" "Maybe someday. Right now, I'm focused on other things." "Like what?" "Like making sure you get into a good college. Like not screwing up this promotion. Like learning to be okay with quiet." Brandon smiled. "You're already okay with quiet. You're the most okay with quiet person I know." That evening, we hiked up to a lookout point that overlooked the valley. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of pink and amber. We stood there in comfortable silence, just being present. "Russ," Brandon said eventually. "Yeah. Thanks. For not giving up. For fighting for yourself. For showing me what it looks like when someone actually keeps their promises." My throat tightened. "You don't have to thank me for that." "Yeah, I do. Because most people wouldn't have. Most people would have just taken it and stayed miserable." We drove home as darkness fell, the radio playing low, both of us comfortable in the quiet. When we pulled in the driveway of our new house, Brandon grabbed his backpack and headed inside without looking back at the old life we'd left behind. I stood in the driveway for a moment, looking up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, Diana was planning a wedding with a man she barely knew, probably already building the same patterns that destroyed us. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I went inside, where Brandon was already raiding the refrigerator and telling me about his weekend plans. This was my life now. Simple, honest, uncomplicated. And for the first time in years, that was more than enough.